Welcome to Codex History of Video Games. My name's Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week, we've been playing way too much Metal Gear Solid.
It's been all Metal Gear Solid all the time.
Yeah, we're on a Metal Gear Solid kick. So we are going to rank the bosses from Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2. Mike is still working his way through 3. Haven't touched 4 yet. We're pretty close to the end of 3, I think.
And we'll save this tier list because we're going to have to put it up on the Discord when we're done.
Yeah, and we can come back to it after we've done 3 and 4, and maybe we go through those bosses and then rearrange things a little bit too.
That works. Yeah, that works for me. Fun. Okay, so we're just going to go straight into it. All right, and I think we're rating it. I want to rate it on the boss battle itself.
Yeah, okay. Just gameplay wise, the fight itself.
The fight itself. I mean, what? Okay, I don't want to restrict us though. We could have like a mood rating too.
Yeah, well,
boss fights are not that gameplay intensive, but are still cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking the criteria that I think about with this is like, obviously, is it fun? That's important, not necessarily what we're ranking, but that is very important. Is the boss fight like thematically coherent, or is it cool? Like, is it just cool, like you said? And then like there's maybe like for some of these you can talk about like the meta part of it, of like what Kojima was trying to do with this boss fight, which is not like, if the boss fight is not fun, there are some boss fights that are just like, they're not fun, they're not very interactive, but I think they are accomplishing their goal, if that makes sense. Like Kojima didn't go in here and make this boss fight and be like, this boss fight is so fun, I've done such a great job, and then we all just disagreed with it. It's like, no, the point of it was to not be that way. So anyway, that's one of the other things that we're focusing on. So whatever, it's our list, we're going to rank them however we want.
Exactly, and we can talk about certain aspects of it too. Yeah. Also, I'm going to apologize in advance to everyone listening. I'm home alone this weekend, so Delilah is being a clingy cat, and she's usually a great silent producer, but she's going to make some noise this episode most likely. So just so everyone's aware, production value is at an all-time high here, as always. So, okay, we're going to go in order in the games. And if you haven't played Metal Gear Solid, well, the game is well over 20 years old at this point. So
25 now.
I think spoilers are out of the question. So
yeah,
here we go. All right, the first one is Revolver Ocelot. Big character. Now that I'm in the middle of 3, spanning the whole game series, Revolver Ocelot. The fight itself is pretty boring, but he does flip his gun for a minute straight.
That's true. We should be clear on this when we're talking about Metal Gear Solid 1 boss fights. We are talking about Twin Snakes, because you played Twin Snakes.
I played Twin Snakes. That's correct.
Which is especially important as far as gun flipping goes, because he does a lot more of that in Twin Snakes to just a comic level. It's
just like it's just constant. Also, I noticed we only have D tier on here, but I think that's okay because D's get degrees, and I don't want to say anything that's an F in Metal Gear Solid because there's no true Fs in Metal Gear Solid. Okay,
that's right. The other important thing about the Revolver Ocelot fight, Twin Snakes related, is that Twin Snakes has the first person view.
Which makes it a lot easier to like.
Yeah, you can shoot across the, you're running around a square area, but you can't go through the middle because you'll set off tripwires and blow everything up. In the PlayStation version, you are like, the fight is you sort of wait for him to use his 6 bullets, and then while he's reloading, that's when you take your shot. In Twin Snakes, you can just go first person and like shoot through the middle of the thing and hit him that way. It sort of ruins the boss fight a little bit, I think, from the intention of what it was in the original game. Makes it a little bit easier, maybe potentially a little bit less fun, because it's also, those controls are bad. So if it feels like you're supposed to be doing the first person thing, the first person controls are like bad and not
They're
fun.
really bad. And then, like, aiming is just a disaster in that.
Yeah.
I was playing it on a controller and it was still just like, it was hard to aim.
Yeah, so it's rough. So anyway, the Revolver Ocelot fight, I think, uniquely is a little different in Twin Snakes than it is.
I want to put this as a C.
I'm okay with that.
With a C? Okay.
Yeah. Because you got the bullets that bounce off the walls too. That's super fun.
It would have been a D if he didn't flip his gun for 30 seconds straight.
Oh yeah, well,
that's how I feel. Okay, the next one is the tank fight. This is the first time you encounter Vulcan Raven.
Yes,
and you're fighting him in the tank, and there's also a machine gunner, and you have to chuck grenades up at him, and he taunts you. I Did not like this fight.
This was a struggle.
It was a struggle. You watched me struggle on it for a while.
Yeah, this one's hard too because it's you're still getting used to the controls,
Mm-hmm.
and aiming is like just not great, and
And you
throwing.
have to use like a combination of grenades, and then anything you have to swap fast to in Metal Gear Solid 1 is not good for a boss fight.
Yeah,
But the mechanics are cool, I guess. So I honestly don't want to put it higher than Revolver Ocelot, though. I want to put it a D tier.
yeah. Well, and Snake does in the cutscene, in Twin Snake's cutscene, he does take a tank shot to the chest, and he's
Yeah,
fine.
he's fine. Yeah, but he's Snake. I mean,
Yeah,
he's a super soldier. You know what I
yeah,
mean? He can
that's
do
true.
anything he wants to do.
He's the greatest soldier who ever lived.
I want to put the tank D tier because I know there's going to be some stuff coming up that I'm going to put rank really high.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the D tier. So you like it less than Ocelot?
I like
is
it
basically-
less than Ocelot. What
Okay.
do you? How do you feel about it? Do you like it more or less than Ocelot?
I like it. I think I like it more because I think there's just more going on there. Like the Ocelot fight is just so small, cramped, and like there's really only one way to do it. But I feel like the tank is a little bit more open.
Crazy idea. Crazy idea. Boom. Boom.
Ocelot D tier, tank C tier. Okay.
I like that better.
All right.
I like that better. What do you think?
I'm in. Now we're saying Ocelot's the floor then.
I think Ocelot's the floor.
Okay. All right.
Personally,
Yeah.
I think Ocelot's the floor. Next up, we have that ninja, right?
You're that ninja.
There we go. That's what I was trying to get Tyler to do because he sometimes Tyler will just say that while we're playing the game and there are no ninjas on screen. And I love it. The ninja fight is a little more interesting because he goes invisible. That's kind of cool.
And it's hand-to-hand combat only.
And it's hand-to-hand. I like the kicky punches for this. I want to put this one. I'm going to put it in B right now, but I kind of want to put it in A.
I think B. It's too frustrating for me. I feel like this fight is a little bit frustrating, especially when he's invisible and you're not quite sure what's going on there. Story-wise, though, this one's great because of the past. Yeah, the big reveal, the past between Gray Fox and Solid Snake. The ninja is spoilers. I guess the ninja is Gray Fox, who's from earlier Metal Gear games.
I think you mentioned this in our Metal Gear episodes, so I think it's fine that you spoiled it.
Yeah,
didn't you? I think you did.
Probably. Game's old. If you haven't played it by now.
What's funny is you explained all the story to me of Metal Gear Solid, and I don't remember any of it, and it still feels all new to me when I play.
Well, I also think that I took care to make sure I didn't spoil specific things because I was like, one day he's going to play through these, and I don't want him.
Yeah, and honestly, you barely in those episodes. I would say you barely scratched the surface too. Just realistically, there's so much going on, man. Okay, this next one is my first S tier.
Okay.
Psycho Mantis is my first S tier because of the gameplay mechanic.
You gotta. It's so meta. Like
it's
you've
so
got
silly. It. So if you don't know, Psycho Mantis is, as it is here, I almost said a psychologist. That's not true. He has like telekinetic powers, right? And he can also read your mind. So in order to fool him, you have to physically swap your controller into a different port to hit him. You can't.
Yeah, because otherwise he can read your mind.
Otherwise he can read your mind. It makes a lot of sense. Also, he will look at your memory card and see what games you've been playing and kind of like talk smack to you that way. And that's also fun. This boss fight is like the cream of the crop to me with Metal Gear Solid boss fights. And even though I like struggled with it when we were playing it, because I was also playing it on an emulator and I had to like swap the control point and configure the controller every time. But if you were a kid playing this on a GameCube or playing it on a PlayStation and you were physically swapping it, that's a really cool thing. So I think Psycho Mantis is my first S tier. Do you agree?
I'm with you on that. I'm down.
Good. The Hind D, this is the first, because I feel like we kind of talk about this like in the second game, and it's kind of a motif at the second game. Everyone has a vehicle fight, right? Like there's a thing there with that. So this is our first helicopter aircraft fight. This was like very
on the top of the roof.
On the top of the roof. It felt very Hollywood to me.
Yeah. You do the rappelling. You rappel down after you beat him, right?
Yeah. I think this one is it's B or A for me. What do you think?
I'm good with B.
You're good with B? Okay.
Yeah.
Sniper Wolf.
That's an A tier for me. It's a little frustrating.
It's a little frustrating, but it's such a good story part of it.
That's true. It is
And
really good.
it establishes the bromance between Snake and Otacon, which
Mhm.
is important because I don't know if you know this about Tyler and I, but we stand the Otacon Snake bromance.
We sure
We
do.
do.
I'm sure there's all kinds of fan fiction on the internet for us.
There's a lot of fan fiction. Don't Google that. This is a clean podcast. Don't Google that. So Sniper Wolf, because I really like the Sniper Wolf fight, even though I like the Pentasmin as like a mechanic.
Oh yeah,
Because
because
you,
your aim is wildly
yeah,
shaky to a comic level. It's just
hmm
funny how shaky your aim is. But once you take the pentasmine, it calms your nerves. You can shoot straight.
and it's funny because the controls are so bad, you have to take the Pentasmin. Otherwise, it's impossible. Like if
Yeah.
you play this game and you do a no Pentasmin run and you actually, ooh, amazing. You're an amazing
Yeah.
gamer. Good job. 10 out of
There's
10.
there's also two parts to the sniper wolf one, right? Because there's one
Mhm.
where she's in the tower and you shoot her from down the hallway,
That's right.
and then there's the full on field where
Yeah.
you're in the snowy field, right?
Oh, the tension builds too. The sniper stuff, it's pretty cool. I like it. I think
Yeah.
I like this. Well, no, that's I'm not going to compare it to 3 yet. We're not going to talk about 3 yet.
We're not done with 3 yet.
We're not done with 3 yet. I did really enjoy it. I enjoyed it more than the sniper thing in 2. I'll say that much.
Oh yeah, the sniper part in 2 is
Yeah.
less.
It's less fun. Less
Yeah.
the
And I
theme of
think you
this.
could argue that was on purpose. I don't mean to cop out anytime you don't have fun in a Kojima game. It's like, haha,
No, yeah, I
that's what
know.
he wanted, right? But,
Tyler really drank the Kojima Kool-Aid, if you guys haven't noticed. Okay. He's really joining it. He's really
only Metal Gear. I haven't played any other Kojima games.
Well, what's funny is like Death Stranding is like
I want to play that.
baby delivery service. I don't know what it really refers to.
Yeah, mostly what I don't know a lot about Death Stranding. What I have heard from people who gave it like a real honest shot, they were like, this game is very, very strange, but also good.
We should
Uh,
play Death Stranding together. That should
yeah,
be the
so
next one
I
we
think we should
do.
check it out. I think we should give it give it the honest shot. And I have a copy of it because they gave it away for free on Epic Games at one point. So
Maybe that's the game that you and I do our next video on, where you
Ooh,
play it and I'll watch you play it. And
yeah.
just, yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Okay, cool. So next up, we have our friend. You know him, you love him, Vulcan Raven. And this is the
Oh
actual
yeah.
Vulcan Raven fight where he's
Yes.
got the minigun, the backpack
Hmm.
minigun thing
In the freezer.
in the freezer. And at the end, spoilers, he gets eaten alive by his own ravens. But that's fine. That's what he expects.
That's what he
So
wanted.
this boss fight for me, though, I actually have a comparison to make with this boss fight and a boss fight in 3 that I found these to be
Mm.
very similar. Did you think this is
Uh,
the Fury is very similar?
yes. Yeah, the Fury is very similar
Or I
to
want to know like the
Vulcan Raven.
intentionality behind that, because the Fury to me, I was like, this feels like Vulcan Raven all over again, but instead of a minigun, it's like fire.
Yeah, it's just he's setting everything on fire.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
it's
sort of opposite because that one was in a freezer, or Vulcan Raven's in a freezer. The Fury is is fire everywhere. He's just
in
setting
the
everything on fire
sewers
all the time.
in the underground tunnels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say for me, Vulcan Raven is kind of like the tank. No offense, like that's putting
Yeah.
both Vulcan Raven fights in the C tier. But as far as like, he's probably the least compelling boss in Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah. His
That-
storyline, if he were not in these games, in the first game at all, I don't think much changes. The story doesn't really change, right?
Yeah.
Sniper Wolf, very important, especially for Otacon's character development.
hmm
Revolver Ocelot, obviously extremely important, right? He's in the whole series all the time. Same with Cyborg Ninja. He comes around every now and again, or he's at least important to Snake's past, right? So and there will be allusions to him in future games.
Yeah.
So like he's important. Psycho Mantis gets a little bit of that as well. His is just fun because it's like the boss fight is so iconic, even if the character doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
hmm
But Vulcan
Psycho.
Raven, like boss fight is like, both of them are kind of and
Yeah.
the character himself is just kind of
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I think C is where Vulcan Raven goes. No offense to Vulcan Raven. Okay. All you Vulcan Raven fans out there, I just don't think his fights in particular are that compelling. So,
Yeah, I agree.
all right. Now, time for one of the big ones, Metal Gear Rex. Where we put Metal
Ooh, you
Gear
got to
Rex?
shoot the radar dome.
You got to shoot the radar dome, and then you got to shoot his mouth when it opens. It's our first big mech fight reveal of the whole series. So for
Mm-hmm.
that, I want to put it up higher. I want to put it
Same.
A tier.
Yeah.
I don't think it's S tier, but I think A tier, which is funny because the dichotomy of where I'm putting this and where I'm putting our next one is interesting. We can just go into it and we can talk about both.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Liquid Snake is down low.
Oh, you're talking the brutal fight on top of Metal Gear.
Yeah, because
The fist.
I mean, it's like not as good as Cyborg Ninja's fisticuffs fight, if you ask me. What do you think?
From a gameplay perspective, not great. I think from a narrative, like cathartic perspective, if just the two dudes on top of the thing, it's going to mean a lot more once we've played a little further into the series too.
It
Like
is
it
okay.
will, yeah. That
Ty-
particular
No,
moment will
Tyler,
mean a
you
lot
do
more.
this reminds me of our Kingdom Hearts debate, okay, where I don't like Sora as a character, and you're like, you just got to play it through it more to know more about it. And then I'm like, I don't know though.
I'm not saying you have to like the boss fight itself. Like from a
No, and
gameplay perspective, it's just punching whatever. But from a narrative perspective, it is awesome, and
also
I
I
love
guess
it.
this would also include the chase though, which
Yeah,
is
I would.
very Hollywoody.
Yeah. If you want to include the chase where you're shooting a gun off the back of the.
I was wrong then. I'm going to take it in stride. I don't think it goes higher than B tier for me, but I do think the Metal Gear Solid, the Rex fight is bigger to me
Yeah.
than the actual Liquid Snake
Okay. All
fight.
right. I'll settle for B tier. I can't wait to come back to this once you finish playing the series and maybe we do a little rearranging. I think
We
that.
can do that's kind of the plan, I
Yeah, I
think,
think that'll be fun.
because I'm almost done with 3. I'm very close to the end. In fact, we stopped a couple nights ago because it was getting late into the wee hours, and I'm like, we should stop
Yeah,
because
we're
we
like
have
it's
like
probably 2 hours of cutscenes we gotta
yeah.
watch.
So, and then you told me 4 has like an hour-long cutscene in it we're gonna watch.
Oh yeah, I think the longest uninterrupted cutscene in 4 is I think it's at the very end. It's like kind of the epilogue stuff. It's like an hour long. That's just uninterrupted. If you where like it's not broken up by any sort of gameplay thing, there are several parts of that game where it's like you watch a 45-minute cutscene, play for 45 seconds, and then it's another like 45-minute cutscene.
That's awesome. I'm so excited. It's so silly to me. Okay. Now we've moved on to Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. All right.
Yeah.
Easily a better title. We already know that. We
Sons
talked
of
about
Liberty, so good.
so good. And has a good reason to it. So now we are going to start with our first fight where it's you fight Olga Gorlukovich,
On
and
the
this is
tanker.
on the tanker in the first section. It's a pretty basic fight. They're just behind some boxes, and you're just kind of like it's kind of a tutorial boss fight because you're learning how
Yeah.
to use the gun that you have.
I'm putting it down in D tier with Ocelot.
I agree. I think we're noticing a pattern here with these games and how the first boss fight is kind of like baby's first boss fight to kind of
Mm-hmm.
like ease you into it, and it's not nearly as good.
Yeah.
Um, I agree with you. This is where you and I have a difference in opinion, though. Is this next one?
Okay.
Fortune.
Oh yeah, Fortune, where you're just dodging bosses.
It's not really a boss fight, but you said there's a reason for that. And I haven't read this long dissertation you sent me.
Well, so Fortune, you can't hit her because at this point in the game, it is explained to you as bullets don't hit her because she's so lucky. She's just the luckiest person ever, and she never gets hit by bullets. They just
It's like
sort
a
of
superpower, like
yeah, they just
Domino, kind of from Marvel, if I remember.
yeah, yeah. They just sort of like they don't bounce off of her. They just like sort of curve around her. And it gets explained with a little bit more like sciencey stuff later in the game where you're like you kind of squint at it and you go, yeah, okay, sure. But at this point in the game, you're like, oh, she's so lucky. She just wants to die. That's her whole deal. She wants to die, but nothing can kill her. And you can't grant that to her as the player because you don't have the agency at this point. Like you can't shoot her. And that also denies you as the player of what you want, which is also to kill her. So in order to be successful in this boss fight, she doesn't get what she wants, and neither do you as the player, and neither does Raiden as the character, right? Which I think is maybe you could play this and go, that's stupid and I don't like that. I think it's kind of cool. If you wanted to say it's not a real boss fight, shouldn't even be on the list. Okay, sure. Maybe it's like you consider it like a long interactive cutscene because it's not really a boss fight. Like you don't really do anything. You just stay alive. But in terms of like being important not only to the story of Fortune, but also the meta narrative of Metal Gear Solid 2 in general. I think it's very important to that. And so for that reason, I don't want to make it a D tier. I
I
kind of
was
want to.
thinking C.
How
You want
about
to go B?
can we make it B tier?
We can make it B tier. We can make it B tier.
Because I like it. I put it S tier from a narrative perspective. I think it's really cool. But
Do you
but we
want to
can
split the
compromise.
difference and go A tier?
No, we can do B tier. We can do B tier.
Okay. All right. Um, this next one for me, he's an explosive guy and
Mm-hmm.
he's on rollerblades, and that makes it S tier.
And he drinks
And he drinks
drinks wine from a like a weird kind of glass, but with a
Yep.
straw.
And that's what makes it S tier. Fat Man to me is an S tier boss fight. It is the most Metal Gear Solid boss fight in the second game, I think, as far as like ridiculousness goes.
It's sort of a like an answer to the Vulcan Raven fight too, where like Vulcan
Mhm.
Raven moves really slowly and like sort of, whereas Fat Man is like just zipping all around the place. It's drinking and setting up bombs, and you have to like what do you freeze the bombs before that, and then
you got to freeze the
shoot 'em?
bombs before they explode, and then that gives you a little bit of time to go ahead and shoot him or trank him or whatever. I was still trying to do a no kill run in the second game, which I ended up failing because apparently I accidentally killed like 3 people. I didn't even remember doing it.
Whoops.
Whoops. But yeah,
Just murdered 3 people on accident. Whoops.
Yep, but I tranked Fat Man. I tranked the Fat Man. And it was fun though. I love this boss fight. When he came out on rollerblades drinking wine, I was like, this is the greatest video game moment in history. This is so weird. And he's also wearing like the Hurt Locker bomb suit. So he's just this giant dude on rollerblades drinking wine in a bomb suit. 10 out of 10, no notes. S tier.
We love it. I'm
We
down.
love it. And mechanically, it's got a little different thing than just like a normal shoot the guy boss fight with the bombs. So gameplay wise, I think it adds a little bit more to it too. So I'm like that. The Harrier.
That's Vamp piloting the Harrier, right?
Vamp piloting the Harrier, and then Solidus jumps inside too. So yeah, they're both in the Harrier.
That one reminds me of the Hind D fight from the first game.
Reminds me of the Hind D fight, but the having Snake there in the helicopter with Otacon it makes it more higher stakes for me. I like this fight, and I want to make it A tier.
Yeah, I think it's a better fight, even if it's just because the controls are a little better.
They improved it. You're still just using the stinger to try to knock it out, but it's still really cool and it's fun. And it just feels, it's got that. I mean, epic is a term that's overused, I think, in today's age, but it's got that high, big movie, blockbuster quality movie fight to it, which is you need. Now, Vamp.
This is we're talking in the weird water thing where he's like standing on the water, but the water is so oxygenated that you will sink into it if you fall.
But he gets them in it, no problem.
Yeah.
Weird. He gets shot in the head. He doesn't die. That's cool.
Yeah. Like several times.
And then there's like the sniper scene with him.
Oh yeah. Those are 2 separate fights.
I liked the fight with the water and how he's like invulnerable until certain periods of time. And then you go swim and all that stuff. I like that. I do not like his sniper portion of this fight.
It's like an extended,
and that's how
where you're watching over Emma.
Kill him too, supposedly, is you kill him there in that scene. And it just didn't feel like a good end to his character to me. I kind of wish he had a bigger ending.
Do you feel denied of what you wanted as a player?
I do feel denied as what I wanted as a player. Is this more of a theme? Is that what you're trying to do right now, Tyler? Tyler's raising his eyebrows. He's trying to get me. I refuse. I'm going to put it C tier. That's what I think. What do you think?
I think that's fine. Yeah. I mean, it's not super great. Escort missions are just never fun, unless they're like fake escort missions where the person you're escorting can't actually die or they're like actually helpful. Those are fine, but otherwise nobody likes an escort mission. Even if we love Emma Emmerich, nobody likes an escort mission. So
we love you, Emma. But yeah, Metal Gear Ray. We're down to the final 2 here. And also, this is actually an existing tier list. Someone had this boss's tier list already on the tier list website, so we're just using theirs. That's why, like, the weird Metal Gear
like the Metal
bosses,
Gear original. Yeah.
So I just moved all the other ones up first, so we're doing it this way. Metal Gear Ray.
The 25 Metal Gear Rays.
The 25. Sorry, Delilah just sneezed and it was very loud. Did you hear it? Did it come in? Okay, good. Sorry. She's being a silly producer right now. Okay, Metal Gear Ray, frustrating fight for me. I understand how it's like a timing. It's really like
It's kind of a rhythm game. There's a
it's a
little bit of
rhythm
a
game.
rhythm to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And but I understand. I don't want to give it. I I don't want to vote it
It's
very
A tier
high.
for me, dude. I think it's
You
A
think
tier. I
so?
like it. I like it a lot. I think it takes time for you to figure out what the rhythm is, but once you do that, I think it's fun.
That's true. Also, they had the ration in the middle to help noobs like me. So I
Yeah,
agree.
and then you just work that into your rhythm of running into
Hmm.
the middle to grab the ration.
Okay,
And then yeah, and once you figure out the like, okay, shoot them in the knee, it opens their mouth up, and that's makes
that's
them
big
super weak.
damage.
Yeah, you could do like a third of their health once you hit them in the weak spot. Um, so once you get that figured out, if you don't figure out the knee weak spot thing though, they take a long time to kill, and it's just like long and tedious and not great.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the other thing about that fight is once again you are sort of denied the big finish in that fight because you just fight them until the game decides based on whatever difficulty you're on that you've just fought enough of them, and then it just sort of is like, okay, cool, moving on.
Cutscene. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, which is frustrating from a certain perspective, but again, from a meta narrative perspective, that's like that's what he's trying to do. The whole game is denying you of what you want and what
that's so
Raiden
funny.
wants and what everybody wants, which is why it was so poorly received at first because that I mean that's the whole point of it was to do that. Anyway, I just love it. I love Metal Gear Solid 2.
Okay, well, the final one then. Solidus Snake. As
Oh
far as
yeah.
like
On top of the federal building
on
in New
top of the
York.
federal building, you have a katana, is what you're
No other
using.
weapons. This is the only time Snake gets, or the only time like the player character gets like a real melee weapon. Maybe you could say the knife in 3.
Hmm.
Um, but
And
I,
then Solidus has got two swords,
yep,
so it's a 2v1 situation.
yeah.
I
You
thought this
even
was a great fight.
it's great, and you don't even control the sword the same way you do any other weapon in Snake. Like you use the right joystick, which is something you don't even really use that much in this game. Which is again more meta narrative as Raiden figures out who he is as a person. He's different from Snake. He controls differently. He uses different weapons.
Hmm. I think Solidus. I kind of want to make it S, but
I'm down. I
you're
like it.
down. You're
I think it's
down.
epic.
Okay, because I wanted to put it at S, but I'm like it's I don't think it's as good as Fat Man or Psycho Mantis, but it's definitely better than all these ones on A for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
You know
Well,
what I
that makes
mean?
it S tier then.
Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna say. So this is our list as of right now, but we're gonna come back to it after I finish 3 and 4, and we're gonna just kind of see where things move around.
Hmm.
And I can already tell things are gonna move around because I love the Cobras in 3. Like it's
Yeah.
so over the top ridiculous, and I can't wait to throw them on this list. I'm very excited about it. But so just to like for people listening and not watching, let's go through them again. So in our D tier, we have Revolver Ocelot and Olga Gerlukovich. In C tier, we have the M1 Tank, Vulcan Raven, and Vamp. In the B tier, we have Cyborg Ninja, the Hind D, Liquid Snake, and Fortune.
Liquid
In A
Snake fighting on top of the Metal Gear.
Yes, I didn't have Metal Gear. That's right. Because in A we have Sniper Wolf, Liquid Snake in Metal Gear Rex,
Hmm.
the Harrier, and then Metal Gear Ray, and then in S tier Psycho Mantis. Possibly one of the best boss fights in any Metal Gear.
Yeah. I mean, it on a list of top 10 boss fights in general of out of any games, like you see Psycho Mantis on there, and you're like, yeah, checks out.
Fat Man,
Hmm.
beautiful, a
We love Fat Man.
rollerblading wine drinking angel,
Hmm.
and then Solidus Snake.
On
So
top of the federal building. We're
on
always
top of the
fighting on
federal
top of
building.
something.
You know, it's important to fight on top of buildings because why fight underground when you can show off on a
Hmm.
rooftop of a building? So
Yep.
that's where we're at. It's kind of a shorter episode today, but we still have the what you've been playing segment, and I have a lot of things to talk about during that.
Good,
So
because I don't. I've just been watching you play Metal Gear.
that's true. It's all you've been doing is watching me play Metal Gear. So we'll just start with Metal Gear Solid 3. My impressions of the game so far is it might be my favorite.
I agree.
Out of all the like I love these two games, like what playing them with you has been a blast, but I think 3 so far is like the camouflage system, the ridiculous the parallels between a Bond movie. It's just all there, and it's really hitting it for
It's
me.
got its own song, its own Bond
Oh,
song with
Snake
a
Eater.
cool, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
with a cool James Bond like opening sequence where they play a song.
It's
Oh,
so great. So I'm a big fan of 3 right now. I've been playing that. I've been playing the new Call of Duty 6 campaign, Black Ops 6, and it can't make up its mind of what it wants to be, but I kind of love that. Like I went from playing a survival horror game and then the next mission was a heist. So it's like
cool.
yeah, it's kind of like jumping all over the place, but I'm into that. I'm kind of going slowly through it. Like I could probably buzz through the whole thing in like an afternoon, but I've
Do you
been
think
like taking my time.
do you think those levels are different because as I understand they have a lot of different studios working on Call of Duty these days.
That's what's rumored is that this game was worked on by like 5 or 6 different studios. So
So
they're
maybe the
wondering
difference in feel is like different studios.
if like each studio took a level because that would
Yeah.
kind of add up. But I mean, I don't want to spoil anything because this is a brand new game, but it justifies all of these. Like it tries its best to, and it's got this weird like Skyrim esque lockpicking game, which is funny.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's doing a bunch of different stuff. So I'm into it. I don't want to say it's like the best game I've ever played because I don't think it really is, but it's giving me old Call of Duty vibes and also them trying to do new things, which I respect.
Yeah.
So
Well, hey, and it's on Game Pass, so whatever.
mhm. I'm kind of taking a break from Control, but I am pretty far in Control. So that's been really fun. And then the big news, because I got Snowboard Kids 2 last week. I played it and I love it. Was it worth the ridiculous amount of money I paid for it? I'm not sure, but I'm enjoying myself and I'm playing through the whole game. So that says that. So I was like, I had a stressful day one day this week, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna turn on the 64 and just play with my Brawler 64 controller
Mm-hmm.
and play Snowboard Kids 2. And I had so much fun, and it brought me back to life. So in that sense, it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's
Good.
working, and I'm enjoying it. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been playing this whole week. A little bit of a shorter episode today, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's
They can be
okay.
shorter sometimes. So
Some weeks it be like that.
some weeks it be like that. I am really excited because at the end of this month we have a really cool interview that I'm very excited about. And then next week, well, I might play a Kirby game next week.
Okay.
We might go back into some Kirby. How do
That
you feel
sounds
about
good.
Kirby?
Kirby sounds good.
Kirby
I'll
sounds
hear
good.
about some Kirby.
Okay, because I miss our little puffy friend. You know.
Yeah, me too.
So me go in the Kirby next week. Maybe something else. I don't know. We'll see. But with that though, I think that's the episode today. A little bit of a shorter one. Tyler, do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.